Thanks for joining us today for this Google Shopping webinar. My name is Henry Carlos and I'm a PPC specialist at Vertical Leap. So let's get into it then. So just waiting for the system to update here. So today we're going to cover Google Shopping, just a bit of an overview on that, on the system in general, some of the recent changes to Google search results. We're going to give you some tips on optimizing your Google Shopping activity, and we're going to talk about how a healthy website impacts your shopping campaigns. So back in 2002, Google released Frugal, which was a standalone product search engine which allowed retailers to list their products for free. Google in 2007 renamed this to Google Product Search and started serving the product listing ads alongside the regular Google search results on regular google.com. And around this time we also saw the introduction of a system which allowed marketers to pay to promote their products, paving the path for a paid system, which came about in 2012 when Google mixed everything up a bit and rebranded Google Product Search as Google Shopping. At the same time, they transitioned to a pay-to-play model, making retailers pay per click in order to list their products at all. So that really marked a shift in Google Shopping over to a PPC rather than an organic activity. So that kind of brings us to where we are today with Google Shopping, with it active in 23 countries globally, around over 25,000 retailers active on it, listing more than 1 billion products and generating over 3.5 billion in revenue per year. And this information is actually from 2014. So Google haven't given us up-to-date figures. We're expecting that the opportunity there is actually much larger. So why are those 25,000 plus users advertising on Google Shopping? So the main thing with Google Shopping, the main difference between shopping results and shopping ads and regular Google ads is the quality of the clicks you get. And the main reason for that is the type of ad format. So because those searching on Google can see the price of your product, the product images, and they can compare that with products from other retailers appearing alongside them. And because you're only paying per click, you're only paying when somebody clicks one of those adverts, you're getting a really high quality user who's showing that intent. They're happy with the price. They're very likely to purchase. And no other Google ad format provides that level of product detail. So couple that with the dynamic targeting. Now you can imagine that if you have, say, 500,000 products on your website, advertising those using keywords would be a nightmare. You'd need a team of people to go through millions of keywords and manage those manually. Now, Google Shopping works a little differently to traditional PPC advertising in that it actually dynamically targets your products to users. You don't assign keywords that you bid on. Google actually identifies when a search is relevant to one of your products and shows an ad for them. So that means you can actually advertise your entire product range at scale without a huge amount of management required. So lastly, you've got once you've got people clicking your ads, obviously you want to be able to track how they're performing. And the great thing about Google Shopping is obviously it plugs into Google Analytics, which allows you to track your revenue. So every click, every pound you spend, you can track how many pounds you made back from that, which makes it a really, really great system for e-retailers. So there's been a big change recently in the way that Google serve ads on Google Search. On the right-hand side, we used to have some regular text ads, which have now been removed, and this is a big change for advertisers. If you're not in the top 4 positions, you're going to get a lot less visibility for your adverts. However, Google Shopping isn't affected by this in the same way. In fact, it's actually going to be improved. You'll notice that with the removal of those ads on the right-hand side, the shopping ads become a lot more visible and a lot more prominent on that page. And this is especially true when the shopping ads appear on the right-hand side of the page. Obviously, these would be next to a series of text ads previously, so they're going to be a lot more prominent, and we're already seeing click-through rates increase as more people click those Google Shopping ads following the change a couple of weeks back. So just a few ideas here to help you optimize your Google Shopping campaigns. So we're going to talk about the feeds, and that's the products, the system that allows you to feed your products into Google AdWords and tell it what's in your catalog and what you can target. We're going to have a quick talk about the product data and the must-have attributes for those products. We're going to talk about grouping those, measuring the return on ad spend. We're going to have a quick talk about mobile, how to audit your search terms and make sure that your ads are appearing for the right kind of terms. A quick note on search partners and promo text. So first off, the feed. So step one when you're setting up a Google Shopping campaign is to open up a Merchant Center account and start uploading a feed. Now that can either be a manual feed in, say, a spreadsheet that you update manually and you make sure it's up to date with your product details, or it can be an automated feed pulled directly from the website and sent straight to Google servers. Now there are pros and cons of those. If you have a manual feed, it's kind of more suited for fewer products. Say if you have up to, say, 100 products, you can optimize those product descriptions and attributes manually and manage those to make sure that the descriptions are as good as they possibly can be for Google Shopping. If you have it automated, that's better for larger product catalogs, because obviously managing a database of 200,000 products isn't really a viable option. When you're setting that up, you've got to think about how often you upload that feed and update it. So that really depends on how often your products change, how often your pricing changes, how often you add new products. So you're going to set that realistically on a daily or weekly basis, depending on the frequency of those updates. Now, you're going to make sure here that the data is accurate. So Google has a very long list of requirements for these feeds, and it's not uncommon for you to miss a couple of those tick boxes when setting it up. So the best thing to do is upload it as a test feed, and within Merchant Center, it gives you a list of all of the recommended and required adjustments that need to be made to that feed. Now, common mistakes here that trigger those alerts are things like using watermarks in your images, having low quality images, that kind of thing. So when you're looking at that feed, you're going to have a list of products in those, with each individual one having its own attributes. We're going to give you a quick preview here of what that looks like on an RSS, I believe that is, feed. Now, I personally prefer to manage mine through a Google spreadsheet. I find it's easier to edit and easier to see the columns. However, this is an RSS one. So you've got your title there, you've got an ID number, you've got the link to the product, the product type and product category options on there. Now that's a Google product category, which Google gives you, and a category on your own website. It's very important that you set those up, both of those, so that Google can understand what category those products are in, so that when you come to grouping your products later, it has that information in there. The description needs to be concise and it needs to be highly relevant, and you've got to think about it as in Google's looking at that description when determining when to show your products. So you've got to make sure you're using the right kind of keywords in there. where you've got the GTIN highlighted there, now this is a new change which has come into effect, which is going to affect quite a lot of Google Shopping advertisers. Google, from May, is going to require that any product with a barcode includes that barcode, that GTIN number in the feed. And if you don't have those in, it's likely to start getting disapproved come May. So certainly something you need to consider moving forward, and a lot of the guides out there that show you how to set up product feeds won't include that information, so definitely bear that in mind. So grouping your products, and you've got to think when you're setting up your product attributes and your feed how you're going to group those. So there's an option to add custom labels, which you might want to add for your top sellers or your low ticket items or things with a discount. Kind of primary focus products that you really want to focus on and split out into their own product groups in your campaigns. That just allows you to measure their performance and adjust their bids and things like that separately. So be aware that you will want to use those custom labels. Think about how you can use those to segment your products. You could use those, for example, for items with free delivery, so that you can use a promotional text on just those products when it comes to setting up those campaigns. So before you get started with your campaigns, you're going to want to make sure that you're measuring your ROAS. Now, your ROAS is your return on ad spend. It's very similar to ROI. Basically tells you how much you're making for each pound you spend. Now, I'm aware that on this screen we've got a couple of issues with some of this data, but if you look at the top ones, you'll notice that that ROAS column is 1,171%. So you're looking at £11 back for every pound you spend on your adverts there. You've got to compare this with your margin. If you're making a huge ROAS, you might want to increase your campaign budgets on those product groups. Because obviously more revenue is better. As long as it's profitable, then you really want to push those. Whereas some of the ones further down the list, where you've got say 61% and you're not making your money back there, you're going to want to reduce those bids because they're still converting, they're converting into sales, but not at a high enough rate to make you money. So you're going to want to pay less per click on those products. And tracking this is really important. It's a major part of the optimization process. Without this data, you're not going to be able to know that your campaigns are performing. So getting Google Analytics, get that e-commerce tracking code on your site. There are plenty of guides online to show you how to do that. And actually link Analytics and AdWords up so that you can see your conversion value, your sale value in AdWords. It's much easier to manage it that way. So once you have that data in and you can see those sale conversion rates, you're going to want to optimize for mobile. Mobile sales are growing. Mobile activity in general is growing quite significantly. It's worth considering that a lot of mobile users will research and they won't necessarily purchase on their mobiles, but go back via another device. However, for the sake of producing and demonstrating an ROI on your campaigns, you're going to want to adjust your bids for mobile on those campaigns to make sure that they're in line. So the way that you do that is in AdWords, where you manage your campaigns, which you link up with Google Merchant Center and build a shopping campaign in there. Once you've got those up and running, you'll be able to see your conversion rate, and you can segment that by device. So that will give you your mobile conversion rate from click to sale and your desktop conversion rate. And the way that you work out your mobile bid adjustment, which is an option in that campaign, is the formula that we have up there, which is mobile conversion rate over desktop conversion rate minus 1. That will give you a percentage which you can then apply to each campaign and make sure that you're bidding the right amount for mobile so that your mobile bids will reflect the value of those visits. So another thing you're going to want to watch out for is your search terms. Google uses your products rather than keywords on these campaigns, on these shopping campaigns, to determine when to serve your advert. And what you can find is that sometimes Google will get that wrong. And you need to keep an eye on those just to make sure. So this is an example of some search terms for dog beds, and it's bringing some clicks through for things that aren't necessarily relevant to that product. So things like dog settee, waterproof dog bed, heated dog beds. You're going to want to exclude these using negative keywords. So for example, you could add the negative keyword heated in order to remove all of that traffic, and that will save money over time. You can kind of proactively do this just by thinking about words that you want to exclude, like, for example, reviews, complaints, DIY, that kind of thing, and add those as negative keywords at campaign level in AdWords to kind of proactively filter out that information, that traffic. So next, you're going to want to look at your search partners. So Google shopping ads now don't only run on Google, but they also run on sites like Amazon, sites like YouTube. It's usually a very low percentage for Google shopping campaigns. You're going to want to check these for your other traditional search campaigns as well. But as Google are starting to use search partners more and more on Google Shopping, certainly something you're going to want to check. So the way that you do that is in AdWords, you click the segment button and you go to the network screen, and that will show you your stats for your search partners and for your stats for Google search. Now, if you're seeing a lot of clicks and a lot of spend through those search partners, you're going to want, and no sales, you're going to want to exclude that traffic. And the way that you do that, you just go into your campaign settings and it will give you an option, a tick box for include search partners. Just untick that and you can get rid of that traffic. So one final quick tip is your promo text. A lot of advertisers don't use this. It's incredibly effective. It's a great way of really shouting about your USPs within your ads. So when you set up a product listing ad on Google, which is a shopping ad, on Google AdWords, it will give you an option, if you edit that, to add a promotion. Now, that's got to be up to 45 characters long. I recommend the shorter the better. For example, if you've got free shipping, something like that, just having the free shipping option in there. What you can do is you can add multiple ads and run different promotions and see which one of those produce a higher click-through rate. And one thing to consider there is even if you don't have an active, say, money off promotion or something like that, you can add things in there like fast UK delivery or something similar that isn't really a promotion as such, but just makes the ad stand out a little bit more to users who might be swayed by it. Just helps grab their attention. So next off, we have successful Google shopping campaigns relying on a healthy website, and I'm going to hand over now to Dave Colgate, who's going to talk to you a bit about that.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Dave Colgate. I'm the Senior SEO Specialist here at Vertical Leap. Before I get cracking, though, just to let everyone know that there is an attachment called Brief Guide to Google Shopping that you can download, and that covers everything that Henry was just speaking about. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the healthy website from the perspective specifically at product page level. So some of the things we're going to talk about today are product images, things to consider and what to include. We're going to take a look at product titles as well. We're going to cover pricing. We're going to take a look at the product description that usually accompanies these as well and sits underneath the pricing and the product title. We're going to take a look at primary call to actions, and we're also going to take a look at secondary call to actions as well. And finally, look at supporting content. Now, all of these from, from a search perspective, obviously help me, but in terms of the connection with PPC, The higher quality your product pages are, the more likely you are to convert those visitors that are coming from your PPC shopping feed. So we're going to start with some product imagery. Now I've used an example on the right-hand side here from quite a common gadget website that I personally absolutely love. So we're using that. And the first tip, as you can very, very clearly see here, is always have more than one product image. I see lots and lots of websites across lots of different markets and lots of different verticals that only rely on having one single product image. It's a big advantage to have more than one. Images obviously say more than words. So the more images you have, the better, really. Don't be afraid to also create your own imagery. If you've got the product in front of you or in a warehouse, it's very, very easy, and you don't need studio equipment or specialist cameras and things to create your own images. Those images are also unique to you, so you can use them as you wish, and also they make them different from everything else that's available. Also remember to take pictures from different angles. Lots of products look different from different ways. And if it happens to be a product that gets used, perhaps it's clothing or a gadget as pictured here, or another product that's used, take pictures of it being used so people can get an understanding of what it might look like in their hand or when they're wearing it or doing something with it or using the product itself. And finally, try to include a product video or even a demo of the product being used. This is especially true as the retail market, and it can be used quite cleverly in terms of clothing as well, but lots and lots of other products across B2B industries too. Adding in a video of some description certainly increases the engagement possibilities of the product page itself, makes the content more interesting, and adds another unique perspective onto the page itself. Okay, we're going to look at pricing. And the first thing, which is an obvious one, depending on what industry you're in, remember to always show the VAT on the prices as well. But there's lots of other things you can do with pricing too. Clearly display the sale price or a discount. Lots and lots and lots of different retail websites or e-commerce websites offer this, but they're all very, very different in terms of how they show it. Having a sale price or a discount is obviously a big potential converter, so displaying it very, very clearly is going to help you increase those sales. If price is limited, say so. Alongside, if the price is of limited stock, also say so as well. These are all trigger actions or things that will appeal to a user, especially lower down the buying funnel, that will make them get to a decision and make a purchase much, much faster. Another aspect in terms of price is also delivery. So if your price includes delivery, also remember to mention that too. That's another USP and another reason to make someone else click. Have a good think about what other differentiators you offer in terms of your pricing. So if there are other aspects of your pricing that differ in terms of your competitors, it's always a good idea to include them too. And always make sure it's nice and clear on the product page as well, the fact that delivery is included, or if it's not included and it's a competitive price, remember to include that on as well because people will be wanting to find that information. Okay, next on to your product descriptions, and we're talking about the description that usually accompanies the right-hand side of a product. Now, I've taken an example product description here from another common website. Some people may find familiar. Now, this is a really, really, really important one. Avoid using the manufacturer's description. I see this all the time, an awful lot. So I've got an example for you. A few weeks ago, well, a bit more than that, about a month ago, we did a new site launch, and all the product descriptions at the time were using manufacturers, and we noticed that the pages weren't actually getting indexed by Google and therefore not being shown in the Google search results. So we updated and made all those product descriptions completely unique, and as soon as we've done that and told Google about it, suddenly they all started getting indexed and started showing in the search results. So it does work. Remember to make it unique. There's probably lots and lots of other people selling the same products that you are. So you've got to figure out a way of making that unique to that person and encouraging them to buy that product from you. Down the bottom, include your main features and selling points. directly below. I prefer doing this in bullet point version, but obviously text is fine as well. It just means that people scanning it can pick up those points more easily. But again, remember to make them unique. Remember to make them different. Reflect your own company's tone and voice. That will increase your chances of getting those purchases. And last but not least, we're going to have a quick chat about what to do with the products directly at the bottom of the screen, so the supporting content. This is obviously very, very useful from my perspective in search. I love that type of content, but it's also great for encouraging conversions as well. So what I recommend doing here is value-add content. Look at the features and the benefits the products offer, but also put your own take on it. Perhaps think about including user-generated content, more images, video reviews, and expert opinions as well. How-to content is also another great idea for adding onto these products, especially if there's a particular way of using them. It's also a great idea, being a specialist or an expert within your product field, to add your own opinions and your own feedback in there as well. It adds a very, very unique twist. So if you're selling a product that's very, very recommended for use in a particular way or for a particular application, then say so. It will add a unique aspect of the product page that will help show the brand's value and also encourage more competitive display of the product as well. Call to actions is the next bit we're going to take a look at. There's several different call to actions on a product page itself. The first one is obviously the primary one. In nearly all cases, this is either add to basket or a buy button. However, there are a few other things to think about on the page itself as well. So think about other potential customers that are within your buying cycle. What about those customers that are much, much further up the buying cycle, perhaps in their research stage, looking for products and making a decision between several different products? Perhaps they're looking at the one you're offering and they're looking at another one that a competitor is offering. So a secondary call to action you might consider is perhaps an add to wish list button. That's a great idea. So it allows people not ready to buy yet, still able to keep an eye on the product and put it to one side so they can come back to it later. So thinking about people even higher in the process than that, how about adding a tertiary call to action using social media? So as well as being able to share the page and the product, they can again come back to it later. And it's always a good idea to remember to include an email option. I know I'm a bit of a sucker for this myself, but if I find a product that I'm interested in but I'm not ready to buy, apart from using wishlist, I will email it to myself or email it to someone else so that I can look at it again later in the day or at another point. So talking of call to actions, we're going to take a look at an example product page taken from another popular outdoors website. Now, this is a really, really quick tip that you can do so that you can figure out whereabouts on your page most people are going to look when they first appear on it. And obviously what that should be is your primary call to action. The first thing you want them to see, apart from the product image, obviously, is whereabouts that they can buy the product. And it's a very, very simple way of doing this. It's called a blur test. So all you have to do is take a screenshot of your product page itself, add a blur over the top of it, and in theory, this represents someone looking at the page for the first time and in the first 1 or 2 seconds. So the most obvious thing that should stand out is your call to action. And you can see on the example here that that certainly is the case, as circled by the green box there. Okay, the very last tip that I wanted to give you guys is something that's a little bit overlooked in terms of SEO, and not something I hear talked about very often, and that's the tactic of comparing with competitors. And we're talking about your product pages here. So what I recommend doing is pick one of your products, any product, do a Google search for it, and then take a look at the top 5 competing pages. They won't necessarily be product pages. They could be a review page, they could be a third-party review, a blog post, anything like that. But still pick it up and choose the first 5 competing pages. Once you've done that, take a look at each of them. And when you do that, look at them by comparing them with your own product page. So look at all 5 of them and have a look and compare them to your own product page. Make a list of everything that you think from your perspective is better about theirs than your own. And to help you with this, there are some questions I have that you can use to ask yourself while you're going through this and comparing all of these pages. The first one, Do they have unique content? What content on the page is unique? What are they doing with that? Are they reflecting their own brand voice in it? Are they providing FAQs in there? How are they making this page unique and special? How are they convincing people to buy this product from them? What call to actions are they using? They're obviously going to have some sort of buy button, but are they using wish lists? Are they targeting a particular social channel? What are they using in terms of their CTAs? What additional information have they provided about the product that you don't include? Perhaps they've taken something out of a manual and included it on the page. Maybe they're using some form of UGC or user-generated content. Perhaps they've invited an expert from within the industry or the field to do a bit of writing or make some comments about it. Perhaps they've even done a video testimonial and posted it on the page as well. And finally, how can you create something better, more meaningful, something that's got more information, is more targeted to the audience you're trying to pick up? Don't forget as well all those users in different parts of the buying funnel. It's well worth targeting and all of them across the whole part. Google is always looking for content that appears better than anything else. So if you think about your product pages and even your category pages as pages that could potentially be linkable pages, or pages people want to link to because they're so useful and so informative, that will really help you in terms of increasing the quality of the page itself, and both from the PPC side of things and the SEO side of things. That really is everything from us. We've got a few questions from the audience that we'd like to answer. So they appear to be PPC oriented. So I'm going to hand back to Henry for a second.
Hi, yes, thanks for your questions. So first off, we have a question about items that are bought in bulk and qualify for free shipping. So for example, 300 pieces of a particular item qualifying for free shipping, asking how does the feed work for that. So it's basically the Google Merchant Center options for delivery are a little difficult to work with, shall we say. They're not really ideal. I know that Google's working on it. They can be pretty restrictive, and sometimes you have to almost kind of use a bit of a hack to get those working. So the way that I would recommend setting that up for bulk items is in the feed to add a shipping label to each product. For example, if it were 300 pieces plus was free, I'd use a shipping label 300 free on all of those products that apply to that. I'd then use the product weight and work out a kind of how much 300 of those would weigh. And then in the global delivery settings in Merchant Center, I would use the rules table, and I would set a rule for all products containing that label, and then set different weight thresholds for different pricing. So, X amount in delivery for ones below the weight that 300 weighs, and free delivery above that. Now, it's not perfect, but that's the only way that I can see that could be used. So then we've got another relating to why do we appear high on Google Shopping but don't appear at all on ELAs? Now, if I understand correctly, what you're asking there is why you appear high on the standalone Google Shopping search but don't appear on the product listing ads on Google search. Now, it's very difficult to answer a question like that without being able to look in the account and have a dig through it. However, I'd recommend that you consider things like, is your product in a kind of small niche? Are there many other products on the market or in Google Shopping that are similar? If there aren't, it's unlikely that Google are going to show your ads on Google search, simply because they don't want to use a Google Shopping box with just one or two products in there. So really, it's how you go about perhaps making your product descriptions a little more generic and a little less specific. You're going to also want to have a look at your impression share in Google AdWords. Make sure that isn't limited by budget or limited due to rank. If it is, you're going to have to look at raising your bids and raising your budgets because it may mean that your competitors are bidding more on those. So that's all the time that we've got today. If you'd like to check out the download, which is attached, the Brief Guide to Google Shopping, you'll find a link there on the page. So thanks for listening, and bye.